I am the immediate past host of Evening Words on WURD Radio, a pastor of 40 years, and a former city administrator. And I'm here today for the express purpose to share with members of our community from a broad spectrum of concerns our outrage and our, let us use the word opprobrium, for what has been done in the name of justice. In America, it has always been a sacrosanct recognition that every person has a vote, that every citizen has the right to vote. And anyone who will abridge that franchise is an enemy of the state and an enemy of the Constitution. 6 legislators from somewhere out in far-flung Pennsylvania has decided that the city of Philadelphia is no longer worthy of that franchise. Unfortunately, there are others who should be our friends who have found it within the realm of their consideration to agree with those individuals. We'll talk more about that at a later time, but today we are here not because we are simply friends of the district attorney's office, and I acknowledge from the beginning that I have friends in that office, and I have great respect for our district attorney for the work that was done in exonerating individuals and keeping with the words of a founding father who said, "Better that 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man serve time unjustly." But we're not here because we are cheerleaders of any individual or any particular office. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, to stand for justice and for the sacredness of the franchise of voting. Representing our community from a wide range of interests, concerns, and perspectives, you will hear from citizens who will share with you their outrage and the reason for it. Let me give you their names now, and then they will come before you in the order in which their names were given. Before I do that, we want to thank the District Attorney's Office and the District Attorney for yielding a time that is normally set aside to provide a press conference so that your concerns as members of the hallowed Fourth Estate might be recognized so that we as citizens may be able to share our perspective with you. Following me at this podium will be individuals who are representative of different concerns, as I shared with you earlier, representing our surviving community. Those who have been beset by crime and who have survived it will be Reverend Chris Jimenez. We will then hear from 2 of our elected officials, State Senator Sharif Street of the 3rd and Councilwoman at Large Kendra Brooks. We will then yield this podium to members of the community who will lift their voice in regards to our concerns today. Mr. Tim Brown of the Philly Neighborhood Network and Ms. Gloria Hart from Kensington as a community leader, where she is more kindly and more euphemistically known as Smooches. From our labor community, Mr. Dan Bowder will speak to us from the Philadelphia Council of AFL-CIO. From our returning citizens community, Ms. Tanya Ba will come to this microphone and give a unique perspective that only someone who has experienced what she has could give. We will then turn to the faith community finally, where we will hear from the Reverend Dr. Jerome Fordham of the National Action Network and my good friend, Imam Ken Nuruddin of the Philadelphia Masjid. They will come to you in that order. We ask that you would listen to them attentively. After they shall have spoken, we will not have a general Q&A, but anyone on this stage, and all of these individuals are representative of valid concerns. All of these individuals are available so that you might exercise your interlocutory skills with them as you might see fit. Coming now to this microphone, Reverend Chris Jimenez. They will each take approximately 2 minutes. I should say that again because the microphone may not work when I say that. They will each take approximately 2 minutes, and then they will yield to those who are following. Chris Jimenez, State Senator Sharif Street. If he is not here, he will be followed by Councilwoman Kendra Brooks, then Tim Brown, Gloria Hart, Dan Bowder, Tanya Ba, Reverend Jerome Fordham, and Imam Ken Nuruddin. In that order.
Senator is here.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Dr. Chris Jimenez. I'm the Executive Director of Healing Communities PA and Associate Pastor for Social Justice at the People's Baptist Church in West Philadelphia. Reason that I'm here this morning is as a survivor. I'm also a returning citizen, but as a survivor, this feels like another thing that was done for us without us. You know, the lack of transparency with this, the lack of coming to us in our communities and asking what we as survivors want, you know, has seemed to have never happened. We didn't know anything about this. Most survival groups will tell you we didn't know anything about this bill. It was totally done in Harrisburg in the dark without our knowledge. And so to sit here and say that this is for us, no, it's not. You know, this is a DA. Listen, this isn't even about, and I'm going to be honest, this isn't even about Larry. This is not about a candidate. This is an attack on Philadelphia home rule. This is an opportunity to disenfranchise the 75% of Philadelphians who voted that in the last election, and the 72% before that and voted in the previous election, to say this is the person we wanted as our district attorney. You know, I'm not going to mince words about that. This is an opportunity to disenfranchise black and brown communities. This is an opportunity for the state to come in and again find some way to erode home rule. This is an attack on democracy. And to sit here and say this was done for survivors, as a survivor, pisses me off.
All right, you can say that.
As a minister, makes me angry, because we're about free and fair. Elections have consequences. It's time for us to stop trying to find ways to disenfranchise people because we don't agree with their policy positions. That's what the impeachment was about last year. That's what this effort that happened a couple of years ago, the same effort that Governor Wolf vetoed, but now and again is about trying to disenfranchise us. And we're tired of it. And we're not going to take this lying down. You're not going to create 2 DA's offices for us to pay for. You're not going to have certain people deciding that they have a right to punitive justice when we have a DA that is, you know, working on restorative and healing justice.
Yes, Lord.
Stop telling us what our communities need. And I don't need anybody from outside of Philadelphia trying to tell us how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to solve our problems.
That's what we're talking about.
That's not what we came for. We decided that this is who we wanted as our DA. It isn't about party, it isn't about candidate, it isn't about, but this is who we decided. And that decision should be final. And not decided by some folks in Harrisburg who don't even live here, who in many cases have higher crime rates per capita than we do, telling us how we should live and how we should vote. And that's just not happening anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out. This legislation is about as wrong as possible. And I know we got a lot of folks that are going to talk, so I'm going to be really clear. One, this is a convoluted bill that is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional because it deprives people in the only minority county in the Commonwealth the right to make a meaningful a selection through the elective process of a DA who has prosecutorial authority. It is too wrong because it is unworkable and unintelligible. Now, my colleague, I heard, Senator Langerholt, who is the author of the bill, says that my interpretation of what the jurisdictional limitations are is wrong. And perhaps he's right. But if so, it is because he drafted a convoluted, unworkable bill. The bill says that a prosecutorial authority shall go to the special prosecutor wherever the SEPTA authority is. But it doesn't define where the SEPTA authority is. And then, moreover, it says, while the SEPTA authority is in multiple counties, it shall only apply in the county of the first class, which is Philadelphia. But if a person is committing a crime and you're really concerned about safety on SEPTA, then it shouldn't matter if you're on the regional line and the line stops in Philadelphia, whether the DA can prosecute, or if the line stops in Montgomery County or Delaware County or Bucks County. But his purpose clearly is not just safety on SEPTA, because it stops only in the city of the first class. Moreover, when you look to it, it references Title 22. Title 22 then says, it sets forth the jurisdiction for SEPTA police, which says everything immediate and adjacent. But even that isn't clearly defined, Because then you have to look to a section that talks about campus police. And campus police is where you get the 500 yards from. Now, if that sounds convoluted and ill-workable, it's because it is. It's taking prosecutorial authority and trying to apply it in the way we place police authority. And in police authority, you have concepts around hot pursuit, which is somebody's chasing somebody, which is completely different than in the prosecution. So I believe it is unconstitutional, one, because it is a denial of voting rights. It is unconstitutional because it came through the Transportation Committee, purports to be a transportation bill, but should have been coming through Law and Justice or Judiciary because it's all about prosecution. It has nothing to do with transportation, so it's the subject matter. There's a subject matter issue. It is unconstitutional because it is unworkable in that it says it. And moreover, it then says that the DA, in instances in which the bill shall apply, should have to seek approval from the special prosecutor before he can proceed, but doesn't set forth the criteria under which you would determine. So it is unworkable. It is unconstitutional. It is a ridiculous, stupid bill written by somebody who represents a district 300 miles away from Philadelphia, more than twice as far as Harrisburg. Let's be clear, while we may serve in Harrisburg, the maker of the bill lives in Johnstown. It's 300 miles away. This is not his first attack on Philadelphia. He did a resolution to try and take away Philadelphia's ability to execute things in the housing authority. He has been a sponsor of constant bills about Philadelphia. Well, I think he should do something about Johnstown and stop worrying about what happens in the city of Philadelphia for a man whose district is 300 miles away. It's an absurdity. It's a stupid bill. It's unworkable. It's unconstitutional, and it is immoral. And moreover, you have to apply suspect scrutiny, and that's a legal term. When you are writing legislation that has an impact exclusively on people of color, and to write a bill which would take the ability to make the selection about the execution of prosecutorial authority away from the people in the only majority-minority county in the Commonwealth of Philadelphia exclusively under the guise of it's about transportation. But then the same authority that touches 4 other counties, it doesn't apply, is on its face, needs to be struck down for being violative of the due process portions of the Constitution, which do not allow a disparate impact against racial and ethnic minorities. This is an unconstitutional bill. It should be struck down because it is irrational. And it purports to talk about transportation, but all of the legislation talks about prosecution. It should be struck down because it is unworkable. And it does not define where the authority of the special prosecutor shall end. It is so unworkable that the interpretations of the House Counsel, the Senate Counsel, for the Senate Republicans, the Senate Democrats, and the House Democrats and the House Republicans are 4 different interpretations. It is unconstitutional, it is stupid, it is insulting, and we need to get rid of it.
Right. Get rid of it.
Let's keep fighting.
Yeah. Signed the bill.
We'll have questions afterwards, sir. Thank you so much for the questions.
I'll take questions afterwards. I'll be respectful.
Okay, no, come on. The governor
We'll do it afterwards, sir. Honestly. Sir, we really will have space for questions afterwards.
I'll take your questions, but I'm gonna let them go. I'm gonna
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman? No, you're you.
That was a hard one to follow up behind, Senator. That's my senator. You know, when I was informed about this bill, I had the same level of outrage. As a city council member here in the city of Philadelphia, the constant attack on Philadelphia's democracy is disgusting. I feel every 6 months, folks across the state try to disenfranchise voters here in Philadelphia. When Philadelphia voters come together to elect an official, we should not allow folks that do not have jurisdiction in our city to come and override that. Whether it's about voting rights, whether it's about prosecutorial events, It is our responsibility to uphold our democracy at all costs. So when I got the phone call, it wasn't about D.A. Krasner. It was once again about the fact, as a Philadelphian, as an elected Philadelphian, when one of us are under attack, we all are under attack. And it's my responsibility to stand here in support of my constituents that not only elected me, D.A. Krasner, Senator Street. We have to make sure that their rights are always being upheld across the state as elected officials. And I'm here to stand tall to protect our democracy and to make sure that we can do everything we can to make sure, as hard as we say that all votes matter, and we went through a whole thing around the presidential count every votes, it's our responsibility to make sure that our constituents know that we will protect their vote at all costs. Thank you.
I just want to remind all of our reporters that directly afterwards we will allow an opportunity for interaction with all of our guests, not in a general Q&A session, but individually as you might see fit. We call now to this podium Mr. Tim Brown of the Philadelphia Neighborhood Network and Ms. Gloria Smooches-Hart, one of our Kensington community leaders, followed by Dan Bowder of the Philadelphia Council of AFL-CIO.
Thank you. Whoops. Thanks. Hi, my name is Tim Brown, Philly Neighborhood Networks. I'm here this morning in support of our friend Larry Krasner, who, as you may recall, was twice elected by the citizens of Philadelphia. On Friday, I wrote to our members that Act 40 was a revenge plot by Republicans, a payback for Larry doing his job. And some folks wrote back, no, it's not just Republicans, and I agree. There's a lot of blame to go around. The Democrats get to claim, of course, the tax credits for their constituents. This was a political calculation on their part, and it helps them avoid having Republicans run ads against them in November saying that they cared more about some guy from Philadelphia than they did about their own constituents. So it was a political calculation. And each of these perpetrators thought they got something of value. But the truth is, none of them considered that they were trading away our democracy and real power for nothing. Think about it. What do Republicans hate? I mean, besides Larry, right? They hate taxes. And what did they trade for Larry's head? A tax cut. So in essence, the Republicans gave away nothing for this. Once again, Democrats being played. And I'll tell you something else. When the Republicans are counting on winning Pennsylvania next year on the coattail of their orange Jesus, they're going to appoint a special prosecutor who will run roughshod over our city. And they're never going to give it back because it's real power. Now's the time to remember who stood with us and who did not. And these craven politicians who care more about covering their own butts than standing up for what is right, they made another miscalculation. Because when they come looking for support next year, they're suddenly going to remember that a number of us in this room and our friends organize all across this state. We're the ones who bring the volunteers. We're the ones who knock the doors, who make the phone calls and pay their campaigns. Now, they may have forgotten all of this, but I'm not going to forget it. I don't know about anybody else in this room, but I got a long memory and I can hold a grudge. And I will remember. And I suspect that the rest of us will remember too. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Calhart. Everybody knows me as Smooches in the community. I've been an active member for 40 plus years in the Kensington area. As a woman of color, Latina descent, I always fight. You tell us to vote so we can put in place of who we feel comfortable to put in place to support us. Now you're taking the right of voting. You're taking our voice away. Once you take our voice, what we're going to have left? We've been fighting this for years, going back to ancestry time. And to have someone out of the area to let us know what to do. So you're stopping everybody from the mayor to the city people to the DA's office. How are we going to put our voice? In Kensington, we are impacted by crime, addiction. How are we going to clean that up if we don't have the support? And then you have outsiders coming and telling us what to do when they don't know what to do. I sleep, play, work in Kensington. Nosotros, como una mujer latina de la comunidad de Kensington, yo voy a seguir luchando en Kensington. ¿Cómo nosotros vamos a votar si tú nos quitas el derecho de votar? la voz. Por eso nosotros votamos, para que nosotros digamos lo que queremos hacer en Kensington. Por favor, no le quite ese derecho. ¿Cómo el alcalde no tiene la voz? ¿Cómo va a hacer Larry Krasner hacer su trabajo si usted es una persona de fuera de la ciudad diciendo lo que vamos a hacer? En Kensington, eso es un derecho. Eso no se puede soportar. Thank you, gracias. As a community coming from Smooches, please give us that support and help us out. Thank you.
I want to ask my sisters, brothers, and siblings who are here from the labor movement to join me. Thank you. Thank you. We're all here this morning to talk about what is very clearly a calculated political move by a certain group of elected officials in Harrisburg who talk a lot about what happens in Philadelphia as if they do care about it. But it's very clear when they have the opportunity to increase funding for public schools, to increase programs that help people like rental assistance, when they have the opportunity to invest in the very transit system they seem to care very much about, they're nowhere to be found. But when they have the opportunity to make some sort of political hay, that's when suddenly they have some energy. And it is deeply offensive to all Philadelphians that this group in Harrisburg that does not represent anyone in Philadelphia continues to stick their nose in our business. I cannot tell you how angry I am that we have to do this again and again. When the state tried the School Reform Commission, it was the same kind of nonsense from them. The same patrician nonsense trying to take over something that was ours because they didn't want us to do it. It has nothing to do with anything other than their belief that we don't deserve to govern ourselves. And that is unconstitutional and it's immoral. And I won't stand for it. Thank you.
Protect Philly's democracy. We got you back.
Let the record show that our labor friends come in numbers. We're deeply appreciative of that. Finally, we will be joined now by a representative of our returning citizens community, Tanya Ba, followed by Reverend Dr. Jerome Fordham of the National Action Network, and last but not least, of course, Imam Ken Nuruddin.
I would ask that anyone that's ever been threatened by the racist, classist administration and government that we unfortunately have to deal with on a regular basis, join me right now behind me and open your ears to anybody that is watching this. What in the Marvin Gaye were you thinking when you decided to give away the will of the people, the decision to vote for Larry Krasner, to vote for the DA, not once but twice? What were you thinking? Whether it's a toy drive, a turkey giveaway, or a fundraiser, you talk to us. You come, you have something to say. But when it comes to democracy, when it comes to our freedom, to the safety of our babies that are in schools, that are going to be on their way to and from wherever they need to be, suddenly you're silent. Suddenly you need to align with MAGA representation. So I have two words for you, which I hope actually happen real soon. Term limits. Okay?
Right.
Because most of you have made a career out of doing nothing that we need done. So this is the Christian version of what we need you to understand. Keep your nose out of Philadelphia's business, and if you are an elected official that is supposed to represent the will of the people, start making a phone call when a disastrous bill is being offered. And that goes all the way to the top, if you know what I'm saying.
That's right.
All right. I'm Reverend Ford from the National Action Network. No justice? No peace. Or say it louder. No justice? No peace. Say it one more time. No justice? No peace. Let me say this. I want to make it very, very clear. I want you to realize, those folks in Jonestown, please put your fire out and leave our DA alone. We voted for Larry Krasner twice, and he won overwhelmingly without your help. The people of Philadelphia voted Larry Krasner in. Leave him the heck alone. I ain't gonna cuss. Also, let us realize one thing. Do not insult us by always attacking our DA. He is from Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia, we do not take no mess. We vote, and we vote. We vote the governor in, and he must realize we can vote the governors out. Right. We do not play. We ain't shying behind nobody. We afraid of no one. The only person we fear is God and God alone. We do not fear man or what man can do unto us. We are serving a true and living God. That's who I represent, and that's who I stand with. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Leave Larry the hell alone.
Again, good morning, everyone. I'm here today because in 1967, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States as a member of the military. And I served in Vietnam, so I know what it's like when it comes to the issues that we face, some of them today. But let me say this to those in Harrisburg who have taken an oath, not just to the United States Constitution, but also the state of Pennsylvania. Those words mean something because that is the bond or the contract that you have with we the people. This is what we expect from you, to uphold and to fulfill the duties that you have. Now, we understand the dynamics in politics. We know there is a threat to vested interests and entrenched power, where they are beginning to see that their domain has to be shared with everyone, and they feel reluctant to share it. And so they're trying to claw back some of that entrenched power. And it really reminds us of the black codes that they put in place when they no longer had the capacity for majority rule. And so they put black codes in to begin to claw back and to take away the newly won rights. Now, we have just won the right to have our DA Larry Krasner represent a restorative and progressive approach to justice. We have the right to expect 4 years from him if we elect him for 4 years. We don't want to purchase something, and then a week later you come and exchange something that we know nothing about. So our position is very clear. The mandate that the DA has, the number of votes that he has gotten in Philadelphia, Philadelphia is a first-class city, so that should be an indication to the rest of the Commonwealth. They should at least listen to us. And our voice has spoken, and we are not going to take our words back until the next election comes. And with the progress that's being made in criminal justice, we can't go back, and we will not permit anyone to take us back, because if they take us back, those who don't know the history, just check the history of the black codes. with frivolous, irrelevant regulations were put in place to disenfranchise and to take power away from black and brown people. This is something that's unacceptable. We're not going to go back into the past, but we're going to make progress by going forward into the future and restoring all of the rights for all of the citizens of the Commonwealth. Because there's a saying, the first words in the Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary. And we say it's necessary for us to fight today to secure the rights of liberty for all of our people. And again, this is something that we're not going to give up the fight. But we want to serve notice that the voice of the people has spoken in Philadelphia. And the Constitution secures and protects that. And so we say to those who are in legislation, if you don't want to uphold the Constitution, then maybe you should resign and retire. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank all of our speakers who, as we shared earlier, represent a wide spectrum of concerns and perspectives here in the city of Philadelphia. You heard from individuals who have been a part of that community which survives crime and has been face to face with the scourge of criminal activity. You've heard from those who have been a part of our justice system, both inside and out. You've heard from elected officials. You've heard from members of the clergy. And we want to take a moment to be expressive of the fact that we are in a house of worship today, because this is not about politics. This is about upholding clear moral imperatives, the things that are right and just in our society. And we want to thank Reverend Lonnie Herndon, who is the pastor of this church, for allowing us to use this. But please, for Reverend Lonnie Herndon, we want to thank you for allowing us to use this platform for this occasion. And before you take the time now to meet all of our guests who are here, and we remind all of the members of our journalistic community, you can speak with any of our guests. We won't have Q&A from the microphone, but anyone that you might wish to speak to, you can make your way to them directly after I leave this microphone. But it is curious to me that one of the signers of this bill seemed to be expressive of the desire of removing the power of the vote of individuals when he joined a throng down in Washington, D.C., and marched on the Capitol to take over that august building that is representative of the right of the people to express themselves through voting. And that name happens to be Doug Mastriano. I'm amazed that 6 Republicans could write a bill for Philadelphia. Perhaps it's because State Senator Wayne Langerholt from out in Clearfield County is such a representative of a great span of diversity in the center of our state, where his county is 97.4% white. Perhaps he understands better what should happen for us in Philadelphia. And I close with his words, which is the most outrageous aspect of all of this. He says that our district attorney should be welcoming this opportunity. This is ultimately about bringing ridership back to the system, which will help their budget. Ladies and gentlemen, my having been so stupid to not realize what a gracious gift Wayne Langerholt is to this community, I now stand corrected by his, what is the word that I wish to use, Sister Bob? Can't use it here. Yes, it's that boat that they used to carry bovines on. It was a bull ship. I remember that, yes. They would carry the bulls on it. And for those of you who wish to speak now to all of our guests, first of all, please help me thank all of our speakers who joined us. We thank you so much for your words.
How much have the states spent of the tax dollars
Don't know.
to do this fiasco?
Don't know.
How much money can anybody?
Still don't know, but I tell you what you can do, my friend, and you know I can talk louder than you, especially with a mic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close the microphone down. All of our members of the journalistic community. Not at the mic, but you can speak to them, Mr. Cole, if you'd like to, because that's what we've said. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, folks.